Are you commenting too much or not enough when it comes to using LinkedIn for business growth? In today's episode, let's find out. G'day everyone, it is Coach Michelle J. Raymond, and as this episode goes live, I have already begun my World P.A.G.E Advocacy Tour. That's right, I'm going to speak at Uplift Live in the UK and then heading over to social media marketing world in the US to share about my new framework to help people get better engagement out of their company pages. But if it wasn't for comments on LinkedIn, this trip would never have happened. Let me rewind the clock 4.5 years. Once upon a time, I wrote a comment and I wrote a comment on a post about company pages. And the person who I wrote that comment on, he was based in Vienna. And lucky for me, that comment, which had a pretty strong opinion on company pages, which went against the grain, was seen by somebody in Dubai. Now, that person in Dubai, they also had a podcast and invited me on as a guest to discuss company pages some more. After that podcast went live, a listener in New Zealand who heard that and heard me talking about company pages reached out and asked me to write a book. Shout out to Lynette Johnston, co-author of Business Gold, the world's first and only book on company pages. As we keep fast forwarding into the future, here I am, the person that is known for company pages that has been invited to speak on these international stages. This, listeners, is exactly the power of comments. And as we've seen recently, LinkedIn have just updated LinkedIn comments. They're changing lots of little things about how they're counted, showing us the power of the impressions that they create so we can measure the impact of our comments. And if I go back a couple of episodes ago, I also did an episode on how many times should you post per week on LinkedIn if you want to grow your business? And lots of you really enjoyed that. It's pretty much been the most popular episode I've done. Beyond just posting content on LinkedIn, there was a lot of follow-up questions about how often should you comment. So we're going to cover that in today's episode because honestly, commenting is just amazing. It's a power tool for you. And especially if you're not somebody that feels confident to create your own content as yet, you don't need to just sit on the sidelines in the background and be invisible. Before we go into the benefits of having an amazing commenting strategy, I have got some exciting news from my friends at Metricool who sponsor the podcast. They have been doing some epic research into LinkedIn. So here's a quick word about what's coming up. Last month, we explored Metricool's 2025 social media report. And guess what? March brings us another exclusive Metricool study. This time, a deep dive into LinkedIn. And this report, listeners, is like the pot of gold at the end of the LinkedIn rainbow. It will dissect over 47,000 accounts and 570,000 LinkedIn posts to uncover the network's key trends, engagement, growth, and video performance. Now, Metricool's LinkedIn study will be released at the end of the month, so stay tuned for the report link and study findings. This is just a quick reminder that LinkedIn is a premium Metricool feature. So to access all of your account insights, scheduling, and reporting, you can sign up for a premium plan, which starts at just $18 a month. And the good news for you listeners is if you use code Michelle30, you can test any Metricool premium plan for 30 days for free. All the details that you need to do that are in the link in the show notes. In today's episode, we're talking about the power of comments. And comments are amazing because they are your way to not only show off your thought leadership, contribute to somebody else's success, and be discovered by new people. And they are kind of the three elements that you need to build a really amazing personal brand or business brand on LinkedIn. And so there's so much upside with commenting. And I know for some of you, you're like, but how many times should I comment versus how many times should I post? And the answer is, it depends. How big are your goals? What else do you have on your plate? For those of you who aren't posting content at all, which is totally fine, for you, my numbers of comments would be much higher. So I would expect you to be spending 15 minutes to half an hour every day commenting on as many posts as you can find in your subject matter area to an ideal audience and really just start discovering who else is interested in that topic as well. And, always show up and be helpful and be supportive and don't spam other people's posts because that's very uncool. Let's be clear. If you are somebody that is posting, and let's say you're doing that 2 to 3 times a week, you may not have as much time to be contributing to commenting as a person that's doing no posts at all. But I would still aim by 5 posts, 5 days a week to getting comments out there because you are leveraging somebody else's community. If you've been listening to the show for a while now, you'll know that I really dislike strongly, and I'd go as far as saying I hate prescribing a particular number of times that I would recommend that you do things. And I do this because, again, I don't know where you're at. I don't know the resources you have. I don't know the goals that you have. And so if I say to you, go and post 5 times a week, but you have a really big product launch coming up, or you're just starting out and need a community, or you're super busy, like giving you an arbitrary number that I pluck out of the air is not going to be helpful. The bigger the goal, the shorter the time frame, the more effort that you need to put in. So this really comes down to you. Like, how much are you doing? Are you maximizing your time on LinkedIn strategically? Because besides being wary of giving you a number because I don't know your circumstances, there is something that freaks me out even more about prescribing numbers. And what happens is if I tell you go and comment 50 times a day or something silly like that, then there are people that would follow that. And that's when tools like automation of commenting become really attractive because people think more is better. And it's not always the case. Not all comments are created equal. There are comments that are going to help you get towards your goal and build your brand. And there are going to be comments, if you do that at a crazy scale with not much thought, that are just going to reflect poorly on you. And I'm never going to be an advocate for that. So those people and company pages especially that have it set on autopilot, just basically spray and pray that it lands somewhere. The comments that we see, we know that it's just regurgitating whatever has been posted in the post. It is so awful and it looks terrible for you and your brand. We know what you're doing. So please just stop it. And especially if you are somebody that is doing it on my posts, like there is one company page that keeps doing it. And I literally, every time I see it, it makes me angry. And I'm working to try and get that stopped with LinkedIn. How amazing would it be to be able to block company pages that spam comments? That is something that I would love to do. So not all comments are created equal. What I encourage you to do is adjust that number way back down. Go for quality over quantity at all times. That should always drive every action that we've got on LinkedIn anyway. But in case it wasn't obvious to somebody that might be new to this podcast, firstly, thank you for listening. But again, I am never going to tell you to go and do something at volume at a compromise of quality. Besides the number of comments, I want you to stop and think, where am I commenting? Are you commenting in places that are going to help you get closer towards your business goals? Or are you commenting in places that you find interesting or entertaining or probably a big distraction? Because LinkedIn is designed to keep you on there for long periods of time, so you watch ads. They are going to keep serving up the things that you engage in. Now, if you're always supportive of your friends' posts, and I'm, certainly on board for that, but if that's all you're focusing on and you're distracted away from your business goal commenting, then you are not going to achieve your goals no matter how many comments that you do. So just take a moment and just check, are you spending time commenting in the right places? It's not to say that there are times where there are swings and roundabouts. We all need those moments where, you know what, it's not all about business. We just need a break. We just need to use LinkedIn for fun. I'm on board for that. But ultimately, just make sure that that doesn't become a newly formed habit. And it can be so easy to slip into. It just starts with one here, one there, and then all of a sudden it snowballs. So just go back and check. You can go to the comments tab on your profile and go back and have a look and see, is this getting me closer to my business goals, or has this been a distraction? And, adjust things accordingly. Or no, yep, it was a distraction. That's okay. With where I'm at right now, business is good. I've checked in, I know what I'm doing, and that's fine as well. But just have a look and make sure that you're on track. Let's talk about some advanced commenting strategies. So we've said here that not all comments are created equal, but what are some different advanced strategies that you could use that would mix things up and really help you elevate your game, stand out from the crowd, and be top of mind for other people? And one of the ways that you can do that is, I call them the mini thought leadership comments. And that is where you really go deep, and it's offering real valuable insights based on your expertise, based on your knowledge, based on your own personal opinion. Like, give me something that is a view of how you see the world that may be different to something else that I can regurgitate from elsewhere. That's what I'm most interested in. That is what true thought leadership is. So these comments quite often are more than one or two sentences. And the cool part about this is you can go and turn these into posts. They're often the trigger for an idea, and you can go and expand that further on and continue that conversation, continue leading that conversation. That's what thought leadership content is, and it can certainly happen in the comments. Another advanced strategy for commenting is what I would call the tag and engage method. So this is where, if I came across a post, and we're going to say it's on the topic of company pages, then I would write my opinion on company pages, and then I could ask someone in my network who I know is also a fan of company pages and ask for their opinion. So I would tag them and say, what are your thoughts? So shout out to Dario Valente, for instance. I would say, I've been asked my opinion on company page engagement rates. What are you seeing with the pages that you manage? So that is one way that you can do this. Again, it shows that other person, hey, I'm thinking of you. I'm keeping an eye out. I want you involved in this conversation. So the tag and engage method is really great to show that you've got a really strong community, strong opinions, and you're supporting the person whose content you are commenting on. And it expands their communities. It gets us all out of those echo chambers. And it's always nice when you get to meet new people as introduced by somebody else. But think about, who can you tag that would come to the post and engage with it and expand that conversation. The third advanced commenting strategy that I would like to share about is all about the call to action comment. And this is a comment where you are driving the action of whoever reads it, asking them to do something. A perfect use case, I have company pages set up for my podcast or also my books. So if somebody is looking for book recommendations or podcast recommendations, I use the identity switcher, switch over to my book, and I would say, hey, come and check this out. This is where you can find it, right? And put a link to where someone could buy the book. Same goes with podcast recommendations. I'm also doing it on my personal page. It might be that I comment as my company page and say, if you want a free intro call, go to my website. Here's the link, right? So it's an action that you want the reader to take. Now, this can be helpful because we know that LinkedIn doesn't love links in posts, and I'm not sure that they really love them in comments any more than that. But, ultimately, sometimes it's a good chance to put a comment like that where you are sending someone off LinkedIn into the comments and put those links in there. So that's another option that you've got. So you've got mini thought leadership ones, you've got the tag and engage method, and you've also got the call to action comment. And they're 3 advanced commenting strategies. To quickly recap what we've covered in today's episode, not all comments are created equal. So giving you a straight out number is not going to be helpful. But do make sure you're investing time and energy into commenting, because it will help your brand, build your community, and ultimately keep you top of mind with your audience. And what goes around comes around, so other people will help you and support your content as well. The second thing that we're looking at is that not all comments are created equal. So think about, how can you use those comments more strategically, and certainly stay away from automation tools. As we wrap up today's episode, I hope I've inspired you to leave more strategic comments in the right places, because you never know where you will end up. So for those of you who've been following along, I'm now officially on my P.A.G.E Advocacy World Tour, and Uplift Live in the UK is my first stop. So if you're a listener and you are going to be there, please come and say hello, introduce yourself if I don't already know you. I can't wait to share a Tim Tam with you all. So until next week, listeners, cheers.